Hi, YouTube. Had a really good long conversation with a fellow YouTuber yesterday, and he definitely gave me some things to think about. He sees my channel very differently than I see my channel. Okay, and so it gave me pause, and so I would like to have a quick discussion. So before we get started, in a recent order, Provident Metals sent me this Canadian silver dollar. This was part of their free shipping page, and the first time I took advantage of that, they sent me 4 quarters, and this time I was actually very happy they sent me a Canadian dollar. This is actually what I wanted, and because we're so close to the Canadian border, there's actually quite a bit of Canadian silver around here. But growing up, I mean, guys, I lived literally about an hour and 20 minutes from the Canadian border growing up. So Canada has always held a very special place in my heart. It is always a rite of passage to go up to Montreal, and Montreal is beautiful. It's basically, we always look at it as the closest thing to a European city that you'll find in North America. And when I was a little kid, excuse me, we'd go up to Granby Zoo, which is one of the closest zoos around here, and also we'd go up to a place called Park Safari. And the great thing about that place was they had this at the end. It's like a normal little kind of a mini theme park, and they also have a safari ride where you drive your car through, and all the animals are loose. And so as you're driving through, you have bags of food in your car. So like literally all the animals will come over to your car. The zebras and ostriches and camels and other things. And literally, like a camel would come and just stick his whole head in your car looking for food and just slobber everywhere. And at the very end of the ride, you'd get assaulted. There'd literally be like 30 baboons that would climb all over your car and scratch up the paint. And they'd break off the radio antenna and the side view mirror. And for some reason, people were okay with that back then. It was just the strangest thing. But we always went to Park Safari and always had a really good time. And then any concert when I was in high school, any band that you could think of came to Montreal, and we always went up to those shows to scalp tickets, and we also went up to some hockey games, which was a blast at the old Forum, Les Habitants, the Canadians. Man, people were nuts about their hockey up there. It's just always fun. And there's a nice deli on St. Catherine Street that we always went to, that had the absolutely best smoked meat sandwiches you've ever had. I don't know if smoked meat sandwiches are a whole Canada thing or a Quebec thing, but all I can tell you is I just absolutely love them. It's just brisket, but it's the way that they cure the meat. It's just fantastic. It's kind of, the thing that I would think of is it's kind of like corned beef or pastrami-ish, but it's just not quite. It just has a different flavor, and it is fantastic. They put it on these little pieces of rye bread, and you just kind of hold it with your fingers because the bread is almost just there to just keep the sandwich together, really, because the meat is just spilling out of it, and is it good. So love Canada, my ode to Canada, if you will. So for those of you that have been in silver and gold for a long time, look, this video really isn't targeted at you, and I completely understand that. This is really more for new people, new investors. As I go around YouTube now, you see a lot of people saying things similar to, I felt suckered in. I felt roped in by silver. I bought into the hype. And they're angry. They basically, it's an inanimate object, but they're like actually angry at silver, and they're hurt. It's a bad investment. And I've had some bad investments, and yeah, I've cursed the companies that I bought the stock, and it performed poorly. I mean, I'm certainly no different. It's a very natural reaction, but you see a lot of anger and vitriol aimed at silver and silver investors, and what they feel are the people that hype it up or pump it up. I'll be frank with you. When I started my channel, it was kind of like, let's have a place where silver enthusiasts can come and be enthusiastic about silver. It was kind of like you're already there, right? It's like going to Sturgis and you have your bike and everybody else has a bike. You're not telling everybody else to buy a bike. You're there with other people that think similar to you. and have similar viewpoints. And it changes the first time somebody says, "I bought silver today because of you." That's a bit of a game changer, right? And I certainly don't want to lead anybody down the wrong path. And so this brings me to the conversation I had with a YouTuber yesterday. Is he sees my channel as along a similar vein of that, of maybe doing a disservice, okay? And that is certainly not what I'm trying to do here. You hear me talk with conviction because I truly believe in what I'm saying. Could I be wrong? Absolutely. Absolutely. If you looked at my investing track record and everything else, you'd be better off doing the exact opposite of anything I say. I'm just a guy that really grew tired of the games on Wall Street. And you know what? I read articles, how does Wall Street get back the investors that they lost? And I'm one of those guys. I'm one of those guys that, Wall Street needs to shake out before it can go higher. I just got really tired of it. I got tired of the largesse, of the $1 million parties and the golden shower curtains, and I just got really tired of it, guys. 2008 left a mark on me, and I just didn't want to be part of that. So you know what? I'm going to miss out on, Green Mountain Coffee Roasters going up 40% because Coke bought a 10% stake. I'm going to miss out on, Josh's marijuana stock that was 1.2 cents and went to 11 cents. I'm going to miss out on that stuff. And I guess I'm okay with it because I spent a lifetime chasing that stuff. And all it did is get me nowhere. Okay? So that's probably not the, not the model that you necessarily want to follow. But this just makes sense to me. All the research that I've done, it just makes sense to me. But I could be wrong. You have to understand that. I certainly don't profess to be an expert in anything. For those of you looking at my channel now, you see me buying stuff that looks like this, premium silver that comes with a premium. Not a huge one. I like to buy it as close as I can to spot. Okay? And why did I adopt that philosophy? Well, understand this. My first 200 ounces were Eagles, 90% silver, and proof sets. That was literally my first 200 ounces before I bought a single premium piece of silver. And anybody that asks me, what's the first thing that I should buy? I always tell them the same thing. Go buy yourself an Eagle. Go buy yourself something that when you have to go back to the coin shop, if that's how you choose to sell it, they recognize it and they have a fixed rate of buy sell. Okay? Because if you decide that it's not for you, you may not want to deal with the hassle of going to eBay or Stackerville or PidBid. Okay? I personally don't mind. That doesn't intimidate me. Okay? I've been an eBay member for 15 years, so selling on eBay does not scare me. I will certainly, I'm not afraid of doing transactions on Stackerville, and I'm not afraid to do transactions on PidBid. Okay? But that's me. That may not work for you. It was literally like this. This wasn't rocket science, okay? I bought my first roll of koalas, 2012 koalas. Loved them. Wow, this Perth mint stuff is beautiful. Let's buy some more koalas. Let's go back to 2011. Wow, those are expensive. Okay, so I right there, light bulb went off. Somebody hit me in the head with the hammer and smartened me up. Wait a minute, just 1 year ago, these were on sale for a lot cheaper, and the premium went up, even with silver going down a little bit. Well, let's look at 2010 koalas. Whoa, those are even more expensive than the 2011s. So a little light bulb went off in my little pea brain and said, hey, dummy, Why don't you be the guy that buys this stuff right when it comes out, and a couple of years later, the premium goes up on it. That's when you take profits and you buy more silver. That's it. That's it. That's the whole premise of what I'm doing. That doesn't work for everybody. What are the risks here? Well, the risks are that there's fewer and fewer people coming into the silver market, and that they're not even willing to pay a premium at all. Not even the premium I paid. That could certainly happen. You have to know the risks going in. You have to understand that anytime that you put your money into anything, you're putting it at risk. Is this a fun way to invest? It absolutely is. I love it. It's become a huge part of my life. And that's why you hear me talking about it with enthusiasm and conviction. But that doesn't make me any more right. Right? Enthusiasm and conviction does not equal right. Silver operates under the greater fool theory. And the greater fool theory, it sounds really cruel, but it's really how they describe any investments that don't generate passive income. Okay, so it could literally be a stock that doesn't generate a dividend. Or it could be silver. I'm the fool. I'm the fool that bought these, and when I go to sell, in order for me to generate a profit, I just simply have to find a greater fool. I don't worry about liquidity. People are always like, well, stocks are a lot more liquid. Well, I'll tell you what, I've tried to sell stocks during some pretty illiquid times, and trust me, it doesn't always work that way. Okay, ask me about the time I tried to sell CMGI. Remember that internet holding company? I tried to sell it during one of the vicious plunges shortly after the tech bubble burst, and let me tell you, I learned really quickly that liquidity becomes an issue with some stocks. Okay? So it's not as simple as they make it sound. People have bought gold and silver since the dawn of man, so I'm pretty confident in the liquidity of my investments. There's no such thing as a risk-free investment, and I don't take that lightly. Okay? When I was a kid, if you opened up a passbook savings account, they paid you 5%. 5%. So, you're a kid and you save up $500 from your paper route or something, and yeah, you get a nice little $25 extra a year, which to a kid is a lot of money. Now a passbook savings account doesn't pay you anything. That's how the kids got their start. I took their savings right out of the bank. It was ridiculous. They weren't getting anything. Like an entire year for $1 at interest. My grandparents would buy CDs, and they would get 11 or 12% interest. That was basically as risk-free an investment as you would get. You were outpacing inflation, and you just tied up your money. That was it. It's not like that anymore. Put your money in a passbook, you lose it to inflation. Put your money in a shoebox under the bed, you lose it to inflation. You buy a CD, you're losing it to inflation. Silver and gold, hey, the price can go up, the price can go down. You can lose. Stocks, we know what happens there. You can certainly lose there too. Land, the government can tax the crap out of it. In fact, I keep hearing people talking about buying land. I'm like, God, maybe it's just up here, but buying land has always been just a sucker's bet because property taxes are so high. You buy a $100,000 plot of land and you pay $3,000 a year on it on property taxes. That doesn't work. Housing, well, we see how that's gone. Please understand the risks before you commit your money. Okay, like I said, when you hear me talking about silver, I'm going to be enthusiastic and sure of myself because that's what I believe. But I want you to know that I can certainly be wrong, And like I said, given my track record throughout my life, don't be surprised if I just bought after another bubble deflated. And it's just if you look at how assets act after the bubble pops, it's never good. Okay, it can take a long time to recover. So I don't think that's the case here, but who knows? So all right, I'll talk to you later.